Chapter 2 of Morningstar-Esthajnalcsillag. Let me describe the little town where Morningstar grew up. Her little village was called Shiofok. I call it a village because it was only a town in the summer when all the tourists came from all over the world to bathe in a splendid lake called Balaton. Nowadays, this village has grown into a big tourist city, visited and loved by all the different nationalities. Once you see and bathe in the Lake Balaton, you leave a little bit of your heart there and you must return. No two ways about that for sure. Morningstar grew up in a house that also served as a church for her father's congregation. It was a simple but lovely house. In the summer, two front rooms were rented out to tourists. This was a way to make a bit of extra income to supplement her father's meager pay. Morningstar in the summer would practically live on the free beach of her beloved lake. She met all different kinds of nationalities there. And to see what's so cute and loving, they all became close friends with her. Each occupation then in Hungary had their own beachside resort to be used by their workers only. Now, Morningstar did manage to find her way into these resorts. She discovered that if she swims out a bit in the front part of the lake, that was rather shallow by the way, then she could go under the barbed wire. At the resorts, the employees thought she was one of the vacationing guest children. So she got free lunch and tea served to her as she sat with an unknown family. No one asked to whom she belongs. Morningstar thought this was highly amusing, to be honest, I think. Everyone knew that she did not belong there and just did not have the heart to spoil her fun. In Sheofuk, there were many places for the tourists and local people to gather and enjoy themselves. While during the day, the beach was the in place to be. When the sun went down, there were pubs and beer gardens and also an outdoor movie theater. Of course, Morningstar was not allowed to go to this movie garden at night, but as you can guess, she did manage to sneak out at times and watch the movie through the fence. The in thing to do on Sunday afternoon was to go to the ice cream parlor located near the lake Strolling Lane. Here they served old-fashioned ice cream in stainless steel bowls along with flat silver spoons that looked like tiny shovels. The taste of the vanilla and fruit-flavored ice cream has always remained in Morningstar's mind. Nothing has been able to beat or compare to that yet. The chocolate ice cream was real chocolate flavored. If you did not wish to sit down in a parlor, but preferred to walk outside with your treat, then they put the ice cream in a bowl made from the same wafer as ice cream cones are made from. These were in the shape of a seashell. The fish caught from the lake was freshly fried until crispy, and even the bones in it were edible that way. Morningstar did not wear shoes during the hot weather. Usually she ran around in her bare feet, dressed in what was then called an apron dress. This was made of light cotton material with frills at the shoulders. There were white ones with embroidery for dress up and checkered ones or patterned ones for everyday wear. Now, Sunday best was the dreaded sailor dress. This consisted of two parts, a pleated white skirt and a long-sleeved white top with traditional sailor collar and a navy blue tie knotted into a bow. Of course, to all this attire came the red kerchief to be worn by all little communists. To go along with the regime's hysteria, Morningstar wore her little red kerchief around her neck, and underneath it, hidden, was a little gold cross on a thin gold chain to make her father happy. Morningstar thought it was amusing to be a Lutheran communist. Her sense of humor developed early, and it got her through many tough times. This summer torture attire, meaning the white sailor dress, was to be kept spotlessly clean. Morningstar found a solution to this problem also. She removed the dress as soon as she was at the beach and ran around in her slip all day long. Now, this caused a bit of a dilemma. Her mother asked, "How can you keep your dress clean while your slip is a total mess?" Morningstar just shrugged her shoulders and said, "I don't know." All of this is not to imply that her parents neglected Morningstar. On the contrary, she was raised with very stern and strict discipline. To be a Lutheran minister's daughter is a difficult enough job, but to be this in a communist regime was beyond description. A minister's child is always the center of attention, and she must be perfect at all times. A minister's child does not cry, go pee, make noise, or in any way make known to the world that she is human. Of course, this is all impossible, for a child is a child, no matter what her parents do for a living. Now, if Morningstar did not behave according to the expectations of the community, and this was most of the time, her parents were quick to hear about it. Punishment was usually a good lecture and writing down 100 times, "I must behave like a lady." After sitting half the afternoon to write this nonsense down, the housekeeper would take this paper to start the fire for cooking the evening meal. This action did not seem very logical to Morningstar. What a waste of time and paper. First, of course, it was checked if Morningstar wrote the punishment neatly and all of the 100 sentences were there or not. Then paper was crumpled and lit. Enough to drive a child to becoming a little devil just for the heck of it. Now, this form of punishment was greatly enjoyed and used by Morningstar's teachers also. So she spent many an afternoon writing down what she must not do. Surprisingly enough, no one ever made her write down what she should do. Wonder why this method is not used. I think it would be more logical. This little girl started thinking logically very early. To her and her family's dismay, if something did not seem logical or a good explanation given as to why it should be done this way or that way, Morningstar had a tendency to delete the task given in her mind. Of course, this also got her into a lot of trouble. Morningstar never argued. She took her punishment like a man, but learned nothing from them. Yes, I must say, she was a very stubborn little girl in her own way. Her smile and an honest apology got her out of many messy situations. She did not want to be bad. Morningstar had a great need for all to like her and accept her, and so she did what she could to gain people's approval. Most of the time, this worked very well. Morningstar learned to keep her eyes and ears open and her mouth shut. In a parish house, such as the one our morning star lived in, there were always visitors. Other ministers and bishops and such, when visiting Sheolfolk, always stayed at her house. This, of course, led to many formal dinners and dressing up in the dreaded sailor dress. Children were not allowed to eat at the dinner table with the guests. They were fed in a kitchen, and after dinner was over, they were allowed to say good night to the grown ups. The tourists that stayed at her house also ate dinner with the family. Now, these tourists became friends of the family, and they usually returned year after year. At Christmas time, the guests would send little packages with oranges and chocolate in them. This was a big treat for Morningstar because these items could not be found at that time in post war Hungary. Morningstar loved to help it out in the kitchen. The first thing she learned to cook was bone soup. This is usually cooked every Sunday. Now she was too short to reach the stove yet, so Morningstar had a little step stool to step up on until she got tall enough to reach the stove. Bone soup is usually made from beef, soup bones, or chicken and many vegetables, simmered very slowly for 3 to 4 hours. When she first started learning to cook, Morningstar's family ate soup for a week. Her father decided it was time for her to learn to make a new dish, and fast. End of chapter 2.